Section 4, Part 2, Point Slope Form. Remember that point slope's form is y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. We've already talked about point slope form, and we've also already talked about slope-intercept form. Remember I said there are going to be three ways or three forms to write an equation of a line. So again, we're talking about point slope form. In point slope form, the m, just like in slope-intercept form, is the slope. The x sub 1 is the x-coordinate, and y sub 1 is the y-coordinate from the same ordered pair. That's why you have the sub 1s. The x and y coordinates have to come from the same ordered pair, the same point on your line. This example says, what is an equation in point slope form of the line shown below? If you notice, this line, remember finding slope, we count rise over run. Find two whole number ordered pairs on the line, and when you count your slope, rise over run would be a positive 1 over 2. After we found the slope, we need a point on the line to write an equation in point slope form. If you notice, 2 points have been highlighted for us or shown to us. One point is at 4, 4, and the other point is at negative 2, 1. You can write an equation in point slope form using any point on the line, but the equations are going to look different. It's going to be the equation of the same line, however, it's just going to be using a different point on that line. But remember, there are an infinite number of points on the line, so actually there would be an infinite number of ways to write an equation of this line in point slope form. I'm going to show you both ways to write an equation in point slope form using first, let's use point at 4, 4. We're going to plug in 4 for y sub 1, 4 for x sub 1, and 1/2 for m in the point slope form. That equation is going to be y minus 4 equals 1/2 parenthesis x minus 4. Remember, in the form, it says we are subtracting the x and the y values from their respective variables. Another valid equation we could write using point slope form of this line is using the point at negative 2, 1. That means for x, I need to plug in negative x sub 1, I need to plug in negative 2. For y sub 1, I need to plug in 1. And for slope, again, the slope is going to be the same, so the slope I would plug in 1/2. This equation is y minus 1 equals 1/2 in parentheses x plus 2. Notice in parentheses this time I am adding 2 because if you remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So I'm just going to rewrite, instead of x minus negative 2, I'm going to write it as x plus 2. Both of these equations are the correct equation of this line, and notice that they are different. So in this lesson, there are going to be several different correct answers for each problem. This next example says, what is the equation of a line in point slope form that passes through 1, 4 and negative 2, negative 3? To write an equation in point slope form, I need a point on the line and the slope of the line. Remember, I can find the slope of this line using the slope formula. If you'll remember, that is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So what I need to do first is to go ahead and find the slope. I'm going to find the slope by plugging in and doing 4 minus negative 3. I'm subtracting my y values, over 1 minus negative 2. I'm subtracting my x values, and they're in the correct order. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive, so instead of 4 minus negative 3, it would just be 4 plus 3 is 7, over 1 plus 2 is 3. So my slope is 7 over 3. Again, just like in the last example, to write an equation in point-slope form, I need 1 point on the line and the slope. I have the slope, and actually, again, I have 2 points that are on the line. So I can write 2 different points in point-slope form. I'm going to first write the equation in point-slope form using the point 1, 4. When I plug in 1 for x sub 1, 4 for y sub 1, and 7/3 for m, my equation is y minus 4 equals 7 over 3 parentheses x minus 1. I can also write this equation in point-slope form using the point -2, -3. When you plug in -2 for x, -3 for y, and 7/3 for the slope, I'm going to get the equation y plus 3, remember that would be subtracting a negative, which is the same as adding, equals 7/3 parentheses x plus 2. This example says the table shows the amount of time Julio works and his total wages. What equation in slope-intercept form gives Julio's wage at any time? What do the slope and y-intercept represent? Notice this is not asking for an equation in point-slope form, it's asking for an equation in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where b is the y-intercept and m is the slope. I'm given a table of Julio's earnings. The hours worked are on the left-hand column, and his wages are on the right-hand column. Remember, wages is how much money you would make, or how much your paycheck would be. Remember to find the slope when we're given a table. We can find the pattern for the x's and the pattern for the y's, and put the change in y over change in x. The pattern for the x's are the hours worked. Each time we're going down this column, it would be adding 5. So to go from 5 to 10, we add 5. 10 to 15, we add 5. And 15 to 20, we add 5. So pattern for my x's would be plus 5. The pattern for the wages, or the y's, would be to go from 130 to 210, we add 80. To go from 210 to 290, we add 80. And then again, we're going to be able to add 80. So my pattern for the y's would be plus 80. We can write that as a ratio to find the slope, which would be 80 over 5. Remember, if you can write your slope as a whole number, you do want to. So 80 divided by 5 is 16. My slope is 16. They're asking me to write an equation in slope-intercept form. But notice I am not given the y-intercept. So I have my m, but I don't have my b. We should be thinking, since this is the lesson over point-slope form, that we could use any point that's given in the table. So we could use the point at 5, 130, 10, 210, 15, 290, or 20, 370. And let's go ahead and take one of those points. I'm going to choose 130, and I'm going to use that point to write an equation in point-slope form. When I do that, I get y minus 130 equals 16 parentheses x minus 5. Now that I have my equation written in point-slope form, I can change this equation to be in slope-intercept form. The first thing I need to do to change this equation to slope-intercept form is go ahead and distribute the 16 and multiply x times 16 and -5 times 16, which gives me y minus 130 equals 16x minus 80. To be in slope-intercept form, I need to get y by itself to have it in y equals mx plus b. To get y by itself, I need to get rid of the subtracting 130. The opposite of subtracting 130 is adding 130 to both sides. When you add 130 to both sides, you get y equals 16x plus 50. The last question says, what do the slope and y-intercept represent? If you think about Julio's earnings, the hours worked, and his wages, the slope, or the 16, if you remember, we put the increase in wages over the increase in hours worked, and when we divided those two, we got 16, which means that for each hour worked, he is going to make $16 per hour. So 16 represents the amount earned per hour. And if you think about 50, this 50 is going to be representing the amount that is going to be guaranteed per his pay period. So each time that he gets a paycheck, he's guaranteed $50 in addition to $16 per hour that he has worked. Today's assignment is on page 342. It's numbers 1 through 10 and 14 through 23.